Hi everyone, you are welcome back to our program. Today's topic is on UK government, the newly elected Prime Minister's address to the United Nations against Nigerian government abuse of human rights and international law. His advocacy is based on what he knew as a barrister and a human rights defender. Before we go on, we will thank all our viewers and those who have subscribed, and still pleading for those who have not subscribed to do so. We thank all those who also left their comments. With today's, we are indeed improving our research. Thank you. We will give a brief note of who the newly elected Prime Minister is. His name is Keir Starmer. He sees himself different from the old norms of Labour Party, from those old prime ministers who refused to work with the people and who left Nigeria to continue to cause more problems to the citizens of Nigeria and also the people of southeastern region. He is born in 1962, 5 years after the government of Gowon, General Gowon of Nigeria, and his own Labour Prime Minister then, Huddersfield-born Prime Minister, Mr. Harold Wilson. He was 5 years indeed when they declared war against southeastern part of Nigeria called Biafra for the purpose of their own selfish economic interest, the oil. But that is not our topic today. Our topic is that today UK has a new Prime Minister whose advocacy is to ensure that the human rights of the people are upheld and respected. He is a defense criminal lawyer and human rights defender. That is the new Prime Minister. He was elected just recently on the 5th of July 2023 and was confirmed as the British Prime Minister by King Charles III. He took off his office and within few months he was in the United Nations to give address to the General Assembly. That is the UK newly elected Prime Minister. We are going to listen to him as a lawyer, as a Prime Minister, and defender of human rights. We compare his address with what is happening in Nigeria. This will prove what people are insinuating, that Nigerian government of all kinds, from the time of General Gowon till this time of Ahmed Tinubu abuses the rights of the people and disobey all international laws. First and foremost, before we continue, we will listen to him. Let him introduce what he has in mind before we continue the analysis.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I address the General Assembly today as someone with a deep belief in the principles of this body and the value of international cooperation. I remember reading the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a student. It had a profound impact on me. I spent my career as a lawyer working to protect those rights, and the Declaration still inspires me now as Prime Minister, because it speaks about our inherent dignity, the very essence of what it is to be human, of equal and inalienable rights, based on a foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Yet as we meet here today, that can feel like a distant hope. Conflict touches more countries now than at any time in the history of this Assembly. Around the world, more fires are breaking out and burning with ever greater intensity, exacting a terrible toll. In Gaza, Lebanon, Ukraine, Sudan, Myanmar, Yemen, and beyond. The vast majority of humanitarian...
Thank you. You see, and beyond is the Biafran cause. He never mentioned it. As a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, he never mentioned Biafra. But he knew that Biafra is one of the countries, although not formally declared or declared, in the world, that there is problem. The problem coming from the Nigerian government, whereby the citizens, those agitators, are being killed with impunity, and the leader of the movement, IPOB, is in the hands of Nigerian state. However, the Prime Minister has promised to return UK to international stage. UK has been out of international stage. That is what he's telling us. And again, as international lawyer and defender of human rights, he is going to work with United Nations human rights. He also promised to prevent regional wars and use diplomacy. We believe this will be applied to Nigerian cause and Biafra. Biafra and Nigeria has been at internal war, undefined war. But Nigeria has rejected every effort by any group to enter into dialogue and diplomacy with the separatist group. Today we have a Prime Minister who has given a short note a prime minister whose country has dominated Nigeria since the 17th century, before the creation of Nigeria and the amalgamation in 1914. In issue of diplomacy, Nigeria has refused to do so, and we will now watch out what the new UK Prime Minister that advocated diplomacy will do. If he will call Nigerian presidency in order to ask them to enter into dialogue with those who are aggrieved with Nigerian state. We will continue listening to him and see what further he has to say as regards what he has to do as a Prime Minister of United Kingdom and within the international community, because he sees that the United Nations are not working in accordance with his establishment. The Charter of United Nations makes it clear for heads of government to adhere to the principles of the Declaration of Universal Human Rights and international law. We will continue.
Need in the world today is driven by conflict. After 20 years of gains in tackling poverty, disease, and in health, war is one of the main regions that progress has stalled. That is a catastrophe made by human hands. It has weakened the cause of cooperation, sowed political division between North and South, and turned the geopolitical dial away from the rule of law towards brute force and aggression.
Thank you. This is exactly what everyone has been waiting for. There is a division between the North and the South. This is not only to the international world, but also in Nigeria. There is a division between the North and the South. The northern part of Nigeria wants to dominate the entire system, administration of Nigeria, economic, social, and political. They want to control everything. But however, they have been able to draw the southwestern part of Nigeria, because in Nigeria, the North and the South consists of southwest and the southeast. But the North has been able to ally themselves with the southwest against the southeastern part of Nigeria, especially since after the Nigerian Civil War that ended in 1970. So the diplomacy needed, the cohesion to come together, had always been destroyed by the politics of the North and the support of the Southwest. Indeed, to disintegrate the southeastern Nigeria, the Northerners tried as much as possible with the Southwest to divide Southeast by creating South-South out of the southeastern region to alienate the Igbos they call the Southeast. We will continue as he speaks.
And this matters to us all. It matters to the British people. My government was elected to change Britain, to deliver national missions on higher growth, safer streets, cleaner energy, more opportunity, and a healthier society. But behind every one of these missions sits another insight, something that used to be unspoken, but now needs to be said, that we recognise that our success in Britain can never be separated from events beyond our shores. Global challenges rebound on us at home, and to grapple only with the effects of war, poverty, climate change, pandemics, or irregular migration when they arrive on our doorstep is to set ourselves up to fail. We must work with others to solve these problems at root, to tackle the causes. Britain is stronger when we do so.
Britain is stronger when they work with others. And who are the others? The others included the member nations of United Nations. Britain was alive when their citizen was kidnapped in Kenya in June 2021. The government in Britain, the conservative government in Britain, ignored the rendition, the kidnap, the legal torture, the detentions, and denial of the right of the indigenous people of Biafra leader, Mr.N.O. They ignored it. They looked away from it as if it does not concern them, to the extent that people began to think Britain was part of the kidnap and rendition. But today, Britain has a new Prime Minister who promised to wade into issues Britain had long time denied. Will he then move to ask Nigerian government to release Mr.N.O. based on his rights? Nigeria has ignored all the legal battles for which the various courts in Nigeria has ordered the release of Mr.N.O. But as Britain wants to wade into Ukraine issue, into the Gaza issue, asking for peace because they support self-determination of this group of people, Biafra also deserve the same support because they are fighting for self-determination. Or are they waiting for another war in Nigeria before they can support Biafran cause? The issue of Mr.N.O, a UK citizen, which the former conservative government ignored, is not welcomed by the international community. Let us go back to the legal issue. The United Nations Human Rights Working Committee was set up by the Human Rights Commission to look into the issues of kidnap and rendition of Mr.N.O. This reminds us in this very report, the United Nations Resolution 60251 and the Human Rights Decision 1/102 from mandate of the Commission, Resolution 42/22, to release the detained indigenous people of Biafran leader Mr.N.O. This was ignored by the government of President Buhari, and yet his successor President Ahmed Tinubu. As a defender of human rights, you mentioned how you studied the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a student and also practiced law in United Kingdom defending these rights. Everyone is looking at you to wade into this very kidnap, unnecessary court proceedings by the federal government of Nigeria, trying to keep the leader of indigenous people of Biafra in prison without any concrete legal allegations against him. Of the 30 articles within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Nigeria committed more than 15 abuses of the article against Mr. Kanu. Your position as a prime minister and the defender of human rights and your call to reinvestigate and to look at the United Nations Charter and identify reasons why the leaders do not adhere to the principles and resolutions of the United Nations. What is the purpose of gathering if these charters were always abused by the member states? We will continue to look at what you have to advise and say to the members, which the populace of the world are listening and watching. We look at them and see what you have in this very regard.
So we are changing our approach on the global stage too. My message today is this: we are returning the UK to responsible global leadership, because I think the international system can be better. We need it to be better. People talk about an age of polarization, impunity, instability, and unraveling of the UN Charter. And I fear that a sense of fatalism has taken hold. Well, our task is to say, no, we won't accept this slide into greater and greater conflict, instability, and injustice. Instead, we will do all we can to change it. This is the moment to reassert fundamental principles and our willingness to defend them, to recommit to the UN, to internationalism, to the rule of law, to work together for peace, progress, and equality. Because it is right, yes, absolutely, but also because it is plainly in our self-interest. So we are ready to step up in a spirit of respect and equal partnership. I don't claim that solving these problems is easy, but there are positive, practical things that we can do together. This starts with addressing the rising tide of conflict and preventing a regional war in the Middle East. I call on Israel and Hezbollah, stop the violence, step back from the brink. We need to see an immediate ceasefire to provide space.
This is the same we call on Nigerian government to stop the violence. There is no need to continue the violence between the agitators and the Nigerian government. It is right to look out for solution and the dialogue on how to go about this conflict. You cannot continue imposing leadership to those who are disenchanted with the system. It is impossible. Therefore, dialogue is the best solution according to the Prime Minister. Diplomacy can bring peace and justice. The release of Mr.N.O is one of the best way to resolve the issue. The Nigerian government cannot, at this very stage, win the situation because the youths are no longer in love with the word Nigeria because of the leadership style. According to the Prime Minister, they can no longer wait and watch all these impunities going on in the world, particularly in Nigeria. With this, we come to the end of this very program. We have watched the Prime Minister. He has said it all. We have deposited to him now the report of the United Nations Human Rights Working Committee, the Human Rights Commissioner, the chief of the Human Rights Group, Mr.N.O, has been efficient in producing their report, and you look at this has been passed to the United Nations for quick action, which they refuse to do so. And this is why the newly elected Prime Minister of United Kingdom says these things has to be enforced. There is no need having United Nations without enforcement of the resolutions passed by the United Nations Assembly. With this, we come to the end of this very program. We ask you to subscribe, share, and leave your comment. Till we come to you once again, thank you for listening. We expect your comments. Share to your loved ones and those who are so much in peace with this very program. We ask you to stay fit. We are coming to you with another program that is interesting. We made a promise of bringing you reasons why there is problem in Mr.N.O. Mr.N.O, the feud between politicians that made Mr.N.O to be portioned as emirate. We will still bring it to you. Thank you very much. Until we come to you once again. Bye.